I'm here today with Holly Sparkman. And Holly, welcome to the Rock Island Line.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. I feel like you're a very busy person who does so many things for the community, and we're going to have a hard time probably focusing on just one. But I also feel like we'll have a lot in common just in spending a lot of energy around town. So
Yep, I agree. I think we're simpatico in the things that we do and the things that we like to do and want to do and then have to do.
Yeah, juggling those, the want to, the have to, it's always a...
Everything in between.
Yeah. So where does your Rock Island journey begin? How did you come to this city?
It started in college at Augustana. I spent my freshman year in college at North Central College in Naperville. Great school. At the time, I wanted to go into anthropology, and it had the program that I wanted. I had a lot of fun freshman year because it's near Chicago, and who doesn't love to go to Chicago in the 80s on Rush Street and all that? And I just honestly spent a lot more time doing that than studying. And my mom and dad felt like, yeah, you need to just come home and recenter yourself and figure out what to do there. And then at the time, I didn't really think about transferring to Augie, but in a nutshell, that's what happened. And they didn't have an anthropology program that, it was hard to fit that in, but I met Dr. Mary Kern, who was an art history advisor at the college, and she and I just were like, we synced, and she's like, I think you'd be a great fit for the art history program. Her husband, I called him Mr. Dr. Kern, who was in the admin part of the college. He really helped me out a lot too. Finding that fit. And I landed at Augustana, and the rest is Rock Island history for me.
I like that journey. You went into the Chicago area, were able to go into the city. Were you a very social young person, like a social butterfly, kind of making connections, having fun, going out, exploring things? And your parents were like, you're a little too focused on the outside world and not on studying? Or
Yeah, I mean, I've always been that way. I've always liked to do all of the things. I always wanted to do all of the sports, growing up and throughout high school. And that's just how I like to look at things. I'm a little bit more focused now, I think, than I was when I was younger. But I think that comes with maturity.
So perhaps the environment of Augustana, there wasn't quite as much to do in the town or around. That almost maybe had a grounding factor of being on campus,
Getting into
more
the
on
campus
the stuff
culture.
that's going on campus.
Yeah, I never pledged the sorority, but I hung out with a lot of Phiros. And so that was, they were in like a welcoming community for me. And then the other students in the art history program, who I'm still friends with today, they are some of my best friends, and that's wonderful.
That's so fun.
Yeah,
that's so fun. So, but you grew up in Geneseo, so you knew about Rock Island, because Geneseo is only 30 minutes away.
Yep. Yeah, from door to door, I can get to my mom's house in 30 minutes flat. Yeah.
And what was it like to think about growing up? What did you know of Rock Island? What did you hear about Rock Island as it started to maybe enter your brain in, junior high or something? What was Geneseo's take on Rock Island?
I think as a Quad Cities as a whole, that's where you went if you wanted to find something, do something. When we were in high school, a lot of us, by the time we were driving, were, sneaking over to the Quad Cities to drive 23rd Avenue in Moline. And I remember going to Rock Island a couple times because there was a co-op tapes and record store. And I needed to go buy some concert tickets. My friend Megan and I, we a couple times, I don't know if my mom and dad knew or not, but we did go to the cities by ourselves. And I remember the co-op records and tape store in Rock Island for sure.
So it felt like a little bit of an adventure, a little bit edgy, maybe something you wouldn't tell mom and dad about because they might say,
well, two
careful.
girls in the big city, you know how that goes. But yeah. So, I mean, it was, there weren't, it wasn't that it was dangerous to go to the Quad Cities, but yeah.
And so what was it like to come to Augustana and become part of Rock Island? Do you feel like you were in kind of an Augustana bubble, or do you feel like through coming to Augustana you got to know all of Rock Island?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coming to Augustana, I definitely felt like I got to know Rock Island better in a good way. And I had friends that had started out at Augustana, so a lot of my classmates from Geneseo, there were a handful that came to Augustana to program. So I had a little bit of home here, and just got to know Rock Island really well. So I got pregnant when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't able to live in the dorms anymore, and so.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, that's not a good place for a baby.
Did they? Was it like a policy of the university, or you
No,
decided?
no. I just
Okay.
decided, like,
Okay.
yeah. After I found out, I was like, yeah, I need to. And I spent part of that time. I moved back home, and then I found an apartment at the Sala Flats in downtown Rock Island, on the 3rd floor of all places. But it was that building is. I hope it's still gorgeous. I haven't been in there in decades, but. Yeah, it was just a gorgeous older building, and it had plenty of room, and the rent was good, and I didn't mind being downtown. There was a Walgreens on the corner there where I remember going to get diapers quite a few times. Yeah, it was a perfect spot for me.
Yeah.
At the time. Lots to do. I was across from the street from the library, so I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, the Sala Flats is a neat location. And I think they've redone that building in the last, I'll probably get it wrong, but 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
There was an investment in that building and tax credits. And, and actually, there's another woman, Diane Astrike, lived in Sala Flats when she first located to the Quad Cities before she moved to Broadway, who does all the preservation work. So she's got stories of living in Sala Flats with her little family. And
I did not know that.
I think maybe I'm getting that wrong, but
could be. I mean, she's another one of those women who I think has done everything and knows everything.
Yeah. So kind of you were at Augustana and then right into kind of the downtown Rock Island area, and gonna have a baby, and then what happened?
I made it through college. And then I really made an effort to kind of stay in that art and art history field. Sherry Maurer, the director of the Centennial Hall Art Gallery at the time, hired me on to be her assistant, which was wonderful. And I'm friends with her to this day, and she's a wonderful woman, great resource in the arts community, great advocate. So I worked there for about a year, and then I opened up my own gallery over in Davenport with Augie, classmate of mine, who was a year ahead of me, Todd McGreevy. He'd found this old warehouse building in Davenport. It was former Great Western Supply or something, and he thought it would make a great art gallery. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's piece it together. And so we had a couple of years of good runs of art shows and events and happenings. And
that's so fun. And you're in your early 20s?
I'm in my element. Yeah, I was 22, 21, 22, 23. Yeah.
And you have a little baby now at this time.
Yeah.
So
you're, I took him with me wherever I went.
Yeah. Bringing him along with you and living downtown Rock Island and trying to get momentum going around art. And were you both a creator of art, or were you more of a curator of it? So,
I was a curator part. Todd was definitely an artist. I mean, he was doing his art for a long time, and I think that might have been what he had a senior art show at the Centennial Art Gallery, and I was friends with his sister, so we all knew of each other, and and it just kind of, the gallery part just kind of fell together in the best way.
What do you
because
think
he knew all of the artists, and I was more of the organizer of things.
That is a perfect kind of marriage of because I was going to ask you, what do you think makes those grassroots creative endeavors successful? And so you kind of hit on one person having connection to other artists, or if it's a comedy outfit, maybe other comedians, or Like the boxing gym in Rock Island, there's all those connections in the boxing world. So you need to have the person with the passion and the connection to kind of the network.
To the creative side.
To the creative side. And you're both creative, but also have organizational chops. Is that?
Yeah. I'm more of the doer, the organizer, laying everything out and And then we had a really nice artist network. And I think at that time, because I was also friends with Dean Schroeder. I don't know if you've run across that name or not, but he was another kind of John Kinzer associate, and he had started Mid-Coast Fine Arts.
I remember Mid-Coast Fine Arts, yeah.
Yeah, as a nonprofit. And, he was putting art in windows in downtown Rock Island. If there was an empty building space, he wanted to fill it with art and artists. And that was a lot of the impetus, I think, for getting downtown Rock Island at the time into the arts and entertainment district. It was a lot of those art efforts, grassroots, ground level art efforts where it was visible. There were little pockets here and there. And it was...
This building would be perfect for that because I have this giant window that I don't know what to do with. And so, being able to display art, almost making the entire retail storefront walkable, a walkable art gallery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was just a little small portion of what Dean did. Dean was very hands into everything art, which was great at the time.
So you're kind of growing up in this art world, making connections, making things happen. Was that a hard way to live, like financially?
Which is my next point. I had to get a job with insurance because I had a little boy, all good. So I had to kind of leave the gallery behind, and
that's one of the tricks for artists, I think, in our capitalist system is that we are not set up to allow people to follow their artistic endeavors unencumbered. Oftentimes people have to balance that or blend it with these responsibilities of having insurance and
I had a son. I just had to focus on that, really, honestly, and provide. I was a single parent, I just had to provide for that. And I got a job with a mall management company and worked there for a couple years. That was a good job. And then I think it was 1995 or so, the Arts and Entertainment District was exploding.
Yeah.
And they had formed a nonprofit, and there was a person who was kind of doing the events at the time, but I think she moved on to another job, and so they were looking for a marketing director, so I applied and got the job.
Oh, cool.
So, I was doing the downtown district events for the late 90s.
Name of that organization at the time?
It was through Renaissance Rock Island, which was a part of Dari and Rock Island Economic Growth Corp at the time, so the district fell under that umbrella.
And that would have been when Mayor Schwiebert was the mayor.
Yep, Alan Carmen, Greg Champagne, Dan Carmody was the executive director of Dari and Growth Corp, I think, at the same time.
And it was kind of a little dream team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it was awesome.
Do you reflect on it in that way, that there was
Absolutely.
Just a lot of synergy, a lot of coordination?
Yep. We were all on the same page about, what we wanted to do with downtown Rock Island and how we wanted to grow. The boat was here. We had these great festivals that were just taking off. A lot of good foundational things had been in place by the time I came along. And, it was a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember because I was 15 in 95, and so all through high school, like the district was so cool. And as I got a little older, it was a real family tradition to go to the riverboat and gamble at Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
And after you'd eat, and so once I hit 21, that was like such a part of our family culture. Not my parents, but like uncles and my brothers and my husband grew up in Rock Island, so his family, some uncles, combined with just the nefarious characters in the families would go out to the casino. I loved the Riverboat Casino.
Me too. I just thought that was the best visually. It was the best atmosphere. I loved being on the boat. I didn't mind that it sailed because it was just such a cool thing that nobody else had.
Yeah, very unique. And just to walk, you kind of had to like walk over the water to get on it. And, but I'm sure there are all sorts of reasons that it went away. But it was a part of the downtown culture at that time.
Yeah, and it was the launch pad to kicking off the downtown Rock Island Arts and Entertainment District. I mean, Zoomers pumped a lot of money into making sure downtown Rock Island worked.
Was vibrant, that people were attracted to the area so that they could eat and hang out and then wander onto the boat.
Yeah, those 90s were the best.
How did you guys address homelessness in the 90s? Like, what were the conversations going on around the unhoused population? Would that impact business? Do you remember if that was ever controversial or a big focus of
that's a good
attention?
Question.
Not to get us off topic.
No, that's
I'm
fine.
Just, like,
I mean, I'm trying. I worked with it honestly because Christian Family Care was actually in a building down 3rd Avenue here, where the Dumarche condos, I think, are. And I went in there. I mean, so after events and festivals, well, when it was event and festival time, I would go in there and I would just say, hey, who wants a job for a day? I need help doing A, B, C, and D, setting up stuff or picking up trash or, and there was always hands that went up and said, okay, let's go, and, they did work and I'd pay them for the day. I mean, it was we worked with it, I think, is where I'm going with it. I didn't see it as a liability.
So the folks who were unhoused in some ways became an asset for the downtown if you could figure out how to kind of harness those gifts that they might have, or their
just make them a part of the landscape. It's they have ownership too. And I was happy to, those that wanted to. Yeah, there were some problem, and I think that some of those individuals, and we had our regulars, and some of those individuals had mental health challenges, and we knew how to, I just kind of knew how to work with those people too, and
kind of come to know
come to know them
and care for them.
Yeah.
John, this is a thing for John, and the best way to approach John is to say, hey, we're having an event here tonight. Would you mind coming over here to hang out? I'll get you dinner. I mean, that was a great approach. Yeah, and there's and I'm still thinking of a couple to this day that I remember. One guy was Michael, and he would just go through his like little loud outbursts every once in a while, and and I think all the downtown businesses, sometimes he would wander into some places and then he would have an outburst and we'd be like, okay, Michael, let's just take it outside. This isn't really the right place. Let's take it outside and calm down. And yeah, I mean, that was just a part of it. Yeah.
I remember in my mind, we just kind of worked with it. We didn't chase it away.
Part of the landscape, and in some ways part of the identity of a downtown, part of the grit of the city, the authenticity. Part of what makes a little city is you're, kind of mixing it up with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, there would be times when people would fall asleep in some area of like the plaza at the time, and I'd usually just call for police help at that point. Just because I felt like maybe there was some more services that needed to be with that individual, but, the police are always great to work with.
I think what you're touching on, too, brings up this point. I had made this little, reel about all this stuff going on with homelessness, but that you probably didn't have a job to do there. Like, you probably didn't have a defined paid role to be responsible for homelessness in Rock Island at the time. But as an individual, and I can tell looking at your biography that when there are things going on in the community, as a Rock Islander, you kind of feel a part of it. And so we were supposed to record yesterday.
Yep.
And you called me in the morning that you had gotten bit by a dog because there was a dog on 18th Avenue, and you and another woman were trying to help it not get hit by a car. So you kind of have that Rock Island spirit of like, no one has necessarily designated me as having to care for stuff in my community, but I do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think downtown, part of the solution around homelessness is also everyone feeling a little bit responsible for your brothers and sisters that
our fellow humans. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I feel a sense of ownership. I mean, I live across from Longview Park in Rock Island, and my husband goes over there every day with a little 5-gallon bucket and a pair of grabbers, and he goes and picks up trash. You know, I mean, we feel ownership over Longview Park.
Yeah.
And I feel ownership if there's a stray animal, which happens. Loose animal. I found a cat 3 weeks ago, and it was on the edge of dying, and picked it up. Long story short, we have a cat. We have another cat.
Well, and the audience can't see this, but your hands are all bandaged up because the dog bit you, so we had to reschedule yesterday because you needed some medical attention. But
yeah, I got bit. I was not going to let go of that dog, though. That would have been more traumatizing to watch it get hit by a car. You know, I would not have let that happen. But I mean, I guess anything I get involved with, I do feel ownership over. Not in a possessive kind of way, but I just want to contribute and do what I can.
Make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said downtown at that time that this whole team had a lot of synergy. People were working together. Yep. And there was this common mission or vision and identity for the downtown.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Like, what were the elements that it kind of, the Renaissance Rock Island, like, how were you envisioning the identity of the downtown at that time?
Yeah, as the arts and entertainment district for the Quad Cities, I mean, we wanted it to be the top of mind place for people to come, you know, whether they wanted to go out to dinner. I mean, we had we had fine dining, we had Le Figaro, we had Rexy's Gourmet House, or Ben's Gourmet House. It was before it was Rexy's Gourmet House, but I don't think I knew Ben. And there was Cicely Sachs and Holiday Inn, and then we had coffee shops. We had all kinds of people, and Theo's, and then we had Bixby's Bagel on the corner. I mean, we just wanted it, you know, to be top of mind for people, and a place for people to go and just relax, have fun, listen to a good concert. You know, Terry was always at Ribco, was always bringing in really top-notch bands. Yeah. And I think that was accomplished.
Was it fun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would have kept on doing it, but it was, it's just not family friendly. So,
right. Yeah. You're like out at night and probably
on the weekends and then late at night.
Yeah. Having to be part of a downtown scene while you're probably raising a now kiddo that's in preschool or elementary school, or that's probably not an aligned schedule.
It was kind of hard to juggle. And then I met my husband. And he had 2 boys too, so we were becoming, we got married and becoming a blended family, and so I needed some stability there too.
But like-minded. I mean, he's over at Longview picking up trash every day, so you must have found someone that kind of shares your.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is he a Rock Islander?
He is. Yeah, he was born in Rockford actually. His father was a Methodist minister, pastor. And they moved here when he was 10, or maybe earlier than that, from Rockford, because they had a church. It was a Methodist church. So they moved here in the late 70s, and but he went to Hawthorne Irving and then Central when it was a school, Central Junior High over on 6th Avenue.
Wow.
Yeah, where that used to be. And then Rock Island High School, he graduated in 78, I think. And then went to Augustana and he has an identical twin brother. So they were just both, graduated from Rock Island High School, went to Augustana, and then, stayed here.
And has stayed and kind of contributed to just Rock Island. Mm-hmm. We all just love Rock Island. Yep. What are we going to do?
Yep. Well, his family, his mom still lived here, and his brothers and sisters, most of them still lived here. He was one of 8. So I think the older ones at the time, the 2 older ones, I think, were old enough to go to college and didn't move here to Rock Island, but the rest of the family did.
So you're doing all this stuff with art downtown, fall in love.
Yeah, and that's how we met. We both had, when the Blue Cat was open, I like beer. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. And good beer, craft beer. And I like stouts. And so that's what got our conversation going, because he liked beer too. And he actually brewed his own beer
that's so
at the time too.
Yeah, just a vibrant community and young people coming together to enjoy art and music and have a good time and falling in love and, blending your family.
Yeah,
and choosing to, to live in a little bit of a busier spot in Rock Island. You're on a busier street. You're across from a big park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, our first house was actually down a bit on 18th Avenue. And then we bought another house, which was a couple blocks away from the house we're at now. So, yeah, we've always lived in like a central proximity of 18th Avenue. Kind of funny how that works out. I never thought about that.
Yeah, that spot must hold some magnetic force for you.
I guess, yeah.
And all the animals you rescue. They're like...
I know. Yeah, and the strays and, yeah.
So you're downtown, you're making art, you're falling in love. When do you get involved with the Art Guild?
When I was at Augustana, I had been involved because the Rock Island Fine Arts exhibition was at the Augustana College Gallery in Centennial. And it was there every year. That was an every year thing, and it was a lot of work. And I did it as a student, and I kind of had a little hiatus for a while where I just was busy and I wasn't able to be involved so much, but got back involved. And long story short, Augustana wasn't really wanting to support that kind of endeavor with the art gallery anymore, so we moved the Rock Island Fine Arts exhibition over to the Figgy.
And what year was that?
I want to say that was 2013 or 14-ish.
Because the Art Guild just had their 50th anniversary?
70th.
Oh, 70th
The
anniversary.
Art Guild was formed in 1955
Wow.
by Sally McMillan and a few other artists, because she really wanted to build a community for artists.
So Sally McMillan was my neighbor growing up, and I absolutely adored Sally McMillan. Mm-hmm. And my sister and I would go to her house, and she would let us in, and I think her husband played like the violin, or he played some musical instrument. But mostly I remember that she had a little dish of candy. And so when you would go over, if she like went in the other room, we would like steal candy. And then I think she knew.
Yeah, stealing, air quotes.
But she was always she lived probably 6 doors down from us. And so,
nice. Yeah.
And my mom's an artist, a really talented artist, actually, who really doesn't share any of her art.
Yeah.
But, just kind of, my mom was always involved in Art Guild. It was such a big part of her life. And we have all these really talented artists in Rock Island and the surrounding area. And so Sally started the Art Guild in 1955. And it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, for I guess for women at that point, which is interesting to me, it was the 50s. And when you look back at the Rock Island Art Guild like archives, it's just a big box of stuff. But everybody was like, it was Mrs. McMillan and Mrs. George White, and I was piecing together some things. This was a few years ago, and I was like, what are these women's first names? Because it was just such a different time back then and how women's identities were anyway. And Sherry Maurer, who's our VP in the Art Guild, she has a whole history of the Art Guild in her head.
Do you think she'd let me interview her?
I think it would be fantastic if you did, because she has all of those bits and pieces. And she, as the Augustana College Art Gallery director for many, many, many years, had the history of working with the Art Guild. At the time when I got involved, it was just, the Fine Arts exhibition is coming up. Okay, here come the envelopes, here come the slides, here come the entries. A lot of, us students did some of that work, and the Art Guild members come in and help bring in the artworks, and then Sherry would get the show curated, and yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those beginnings, Sherry is invaluable for helping us, because there was another woman, and she passed a few years ago, Diane Von Dresky. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that name is familiar to you.
All the names from the Art Guild, I feel like float in my head just because of my mom.
She was an amazing woman, and she was such a taskmaster for the Art Guild. She kept us all in line. When I was president a long time ago, she was the one who was telling me, okay, now you need to do this. This is the time for this. And, I miss her.
Yeah, I grew up a little bit in that. Like, I remember one season, we had all these wire cages in our basement that were made into the figure of people, and then live, I think that was for the Art Guild, flowers were put into them, so they were like living, they looked like people but made of flowers. Or maybe that's something else my mom was doing. But it was super cool. And just watching my mom and some of her friends get stuff done. Through things like Art Guild, you see all these very capable humans keeping things on schedule, getting things done. Mm-hmm. It's inspiring to watch, but a lot of decisive women too. Like,
yep.
Now
headstrong
you will do
women.
This.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that for sure. I love that image in my head. Yeah. Because there was a lot of really capable taskmasters at the time, keeping that Art Guild organization alive, keeping artists in Rock Island and from other parts of the Quad Cities too, engaged and
I've thought a little bit about, I'm so into this homelessness issue, but about partnering with some sort of an art outfit to provide some art supplies to the unhoused and work on some creation of art that comes from that population, and doing some sort of a art exhibit or
like a plein air.
Yeah.
Having them like draw your surroundings, wherever you're at. Because the Art Guild did have, way in the Art Guild beginnings, they did have some plein air events at Longview Park, which, if, like, where is that artwork now? I don't know. But I would have loved to have seen what came out of those events.
And I think that is really a beautiful thing that art can do, is it's to express and explore what's beautiful, what hurts, what, it's to really look at things and observe them and get feelings from your reaction. And so kind of this idea around Rock Island being very beautiful, even in the things that are difficult as a community to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I love art. I can't draw to save my life.
I hear people say that all the time, but I bet you can.
Well, my daughter can. I have one kid, my mom, my brother, and my daughter, all just like such gifted artists where it's like, how do you do that? I could draw a stick figure, but I guess if you practice. And my husband actually was an art major in part, so he can actually draw too.
Well, and I grew up with it. My mom, she painted, and she was very arts and craftsy, and I was just always seeing what she was doing, and she'd, let me do along with, she might give me a few things to play along with, and so I just kind of grew up around that. And in Geneseo, you wouldn't think that would be, and we had art class in elementary level, and at junior high and high school. But when I was in elementary school, I was in if you showed promise, you get to do these little special programs. So I did special art, and so that I would get to take, once a week I get to take part of my day and I get to go down to the art room, and it was just a lot of fun, great memories. And
my little Nora does art once a week at the Figgy, and it's a pretty serious program, and you go once a week all year long. And if you know Nora, if you knew her, she is kind of high energy, bouncing off the walls, like bumping into people, and she loves it. Like if she has to miss it, she's really upset because it's so centering and grounding for her. And maybe as a kid you felt that too, just that opportunity to just be absorbed in this thing you're working on, whether it's going to turn into something or not. You know, she just is always drawing and sketching and painting, and it's...
Yeah, that's our middle child, Ethan. He's very much like that. You know, he's busy, and his mind goes a million different ways, but, you know, he paints and he draws, and, you know, that's really, I know it's a centering thing for him, you know, and I love that. And he does some amazing work, you know.
Yeah, I should have Ethan on the podcast. He's great.
Yeah.
I know him a little bit from working with Thurgood.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's, I don't know who I think he's might be helping Marcus Herbert out with his campaign, but yeah, he likes to help with the political campaigns. Yeah, he'd be great to talk to.
And he's not a very visible part of it, but he's kind of a hard worker behind the scenes, doing all the things that are necessary, but not very flashy. Like he's
he's very boots on the ground. Yes. I would say that. Yeah, he loves to disc golf. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's not a kid anymore. I keep telling myself that, like, all our kids are in their 30s now. He's not a kid.
Right.
They're
I was
going to
say he's not like a teenager. He's a grown up.
No, I know. He grew up.
So you have this, I feel like your life has so many pieces to it. And you have this component that was, you know, art at Augustana, the Art Guild, doing all this Renaissance stuff downtown. But a big part of your career was working in the Rock Island school system.
Yep, I landed there. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it seemed like I was jumping jobs every 2 years for a while, so I went through that cycle. But yeah, I started working for the school district in 2007 because at the time, Renaissance Rock Island sort of put together a plan for, because they saw the need in the early, you know, in the 90s, that Rock Island needed somebody to promote Rock Island. And so they had coordinated with the city of Rock Island a marketing director that could promote housing here in the, you know, as Rock Island is a great place to live, and also promote the schools and work with realtors to help them understand where our boundaries are and what schools were in what neighborhoods, and, you know, help realtors build a familiarity with Rock Island so they could, you know, help sell more houses in Rock Island and bring more families in. You know, it's a big cyclical thing. So I was actually in the office, the Renaissance Rock Island office at the time when the first person was hired to do that job, Jill Miklas. But it was a school district. It was two things, you know, one person to do two jobs, city and school district. So down the road, Jennifer Walker had gotten the job as the city marketing director. And she made the pitch for the school district to actually hire a person of their own because there was so much work to do, you know, on both ends, city end and school district end. And so that's where I kind of came in. They put together a job. She worked with city leaders and school district and community leaders to put together a job description for a person to exclusively market and Rock Island schools. And so that's what I was hired to do in 2007.
So this recognition that as people look for homes and look to relocate to a city, that the first thing a lot of young people do is they go look at
what are your schools like?
What are your schools like? What's your grade? You know, every realtor app, and it has some little arbitrary grading of what that school is.
Arbitrary. That's a good word.
Yeah. It's like, what goes into that? I don't know.
But I've tried to find out many times. It's hard.
But it is kind of this acknowledgement that marketing a school district or successfully telling the story of a school district is part of attracting young families to Rock Island. And so that became part of your job.
Yep, that was my job.
For through the schools, through the city, or a combination?
Yep, it was a total school district funding. And it wasn't a hard sell, but I could tell, you know, at the time the school district was like, okay, we're going to do this. And, you know, because they realized that they need somebody to not only market, but they needed somebody that could help with communications, you know, and do public relations.
Like a press
tell
release.
Tell the good stories, because at that time, you know, there was that, and I don't know, and I was trying to think, like, where this Rock Island stigma has come into play. I mean, I know the 90s were hard, you know, and we had some troubles and some some shootings. And
I think I was in high school in the 90s, and I have a Geneseo story, actually. We went to Geneseo to play basketball, and my teammate was called the N-word on the stairs going into play, and it was the first time I'd ever witnessed that.
Oh, wow.
In my life. And then in the gym, they had these posters, and I don't know if they put them out to like tease us, but it was like a little kid against like a brick wall with a spotlight on him, and the poster said, "Rock Island is no place to raise a child."
Really?
So I don't know if they put them in the space to taunt us. But I think Rock Island becomes, in the region, this reflection of, do you ever feel like people need a place to look at to say, I'm better than that, so then they can feel okay?
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes for communities, Rock Island just becomes this place that is almost like no matter what you do, the world around you will tell a story about you.
Yeah.
And so
it's not the right story.
It's not the right story. And so you had this job to try to tell a different story about Rock Island, but in the face of a lot of negative feedback that I was in high school in the 90s, and a lot of it was race-based and motivated by a general kind of feeling around race and poverty. Am I making that up? Because sometimes I feel like I can be too myopic about the impact of racism, the impact of classism. But I think there's some of that when it comes to the city of Rock Island.
Yeah, and there was a lot of fear out there about what they thought Rock Island was and what it actually is, you know. And if you live here, you know, and you would hear a lot of Rock Islanders say that. But yeah, that outside perception was just very pervasive. And Jennifer Walker did some great, she's very data-driven, research-based. You know, she's a true marketing. I never had a business class in college.
But you're a storyteller. You can present
marketing
things,
to me was, she was a true, marketing guru in my mind, and she still is. But she did some interesting research about, and one of her things was she took headlines from our local daily papers and just put them all in the spreadsheet and then gauged them on, like, is this a favorable headline or is this, and 9 times out of 10, the headlines about Rock Island were very negative.
Yeah.
Compared to other municipalities. And that was, very powerful to me. Because we had still remained friends. I actually worked with Jennifer when we worked for the mall company, General Growth. We were both secretaries. That was my first real job. And so we had kept in touch, and then she got the job here in Rock Island, the marketing director job here. And I had moved on, and I did marketing for the Rock Island Bank and then a couple other places. But, she had showed that to me after I had gotten the job for the school district, and I was like, wow, this is a real thing. This perception is real, and it's being played out in our media. That, to me, was very disturbing.
And I think the hardest part about it is it's fed back to the kids.
They pick up on it.
Somewhere, and I think when I was growing up, you almost had a chip on your shoulder about it. I wanted to really defend my teammates' honor. When we went to play basketball, it was like, you don't know who these people are, and that they're just as good as you, and just as hardworking and just as brilliant. And maybe that's still what I'm doing to this day, actually, is trying to tell a different story about this place, but more than that, the people who live here. The goodness and the creativity, the brilliance, but if you look at like a report card through a website for a Realtors Association, it's like your high school gets a 2. And I'm like, really? Because I went to the choir concert last night and had chills listening to the choir sing.
I never understood it either, because my son had a great experience coming through the school district. And at the time, I don't know if this is still true now, but we had more students come out as National Merit Scholars in the 2000s, up until like the last time I kept track of it before I left the school district, I think was 2019, and I think that was still the case, but I'm not sure how to track that down. But we had AP courses, our high school, dual college credit enrollment. I mean, our high school is amazing.
It is amazing. And my daughter's a sophomore there. I remember having a friend, they were trying to figure out where to live, and they did some sort of research like that and kind of determined that if you were a high-achieving kiddo in the Rock Island School District, that your prospects for college acceptance and kind of doing well were better than if you went to another school in the school district. I don't really know how they figured that out, but I remember hearing kind of like if you're a student who really struggles or a student who's very high achieving, Rock Island is a wonderful district for you. Mm-hmm. If you're in the middle, it can be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And I don't know and I have I'm just that's anecdotal, but.
Yeah, I mean, from my own experience as a parent first, because my son he was off the charts in math, but struggled in reading. So he was always bouncing in and out of reading programs to help him along the way. But they were on top of it. Mm-hmm. His teachers were on top of it. And I was grateful to have that comfort in knowing that they were paying attention to my kid's education. I was an involved parent, yes. And I kept on top of the teachers who were keeping on top of him, I think sometimes that's where the missing element is nowadays, is parents do not have time to keep on top of their child's education, unfortunately. Everybody's working. Life is such, in my opinion, such a different, more fast-paced place than it was in the 90s before we, really got to use cell phones and social media and all that. There's so many distractions nowadays, and I think that is a problem in education as well. But yeah, we have to have, parents have to have that engagement with their schools in order for their child to be successful.
And I went off to college in the early 2000s. I went to Northwestern in Chicago and did a lot of policy stuff. And I think that is also, this is kind of coming back to, for me, a lot of the policy stuff I liked. And then I got married and my husband went to school, and you just take whatever job you can take because you're young and you need to make money and you're raising your kids. So some of this for me is also like a return to things that used to really captivate me. And in 1996, there were big changes to how our country does our social safety net for mothers and families. So the Personal Responsibility Work Opportunity Act was passed, I think, in 96. And when I was in college, I worked for Northwestern's Institute for Policy Research. And so my summer job was going to all these different neighborhoods in Chicago and interviewing women about the impact of the change in those poverty policies. And so the thought was it was successful because so many more women were working with little kids, because there was a change in the poverty policy that you were time limited. You could only get benefits for 5 years, and then you had to be working, and there were changes to it's really boring. But it kind of makes sense then that after that time, in terms of family involvement for people who are living in poverty, and we have a lot of kiddos living in poverty at Rock Island High School, that their parents, because they were poor, had to work or would be pushed further into poverty. And then you get into these housing programs where you can at least have a roof over your head. But if you want grandma to move in, then you can't afford your rent anymore. If you want dad to be in the home, you can't afford your rent anymore. So a lot of the ways that we do poverty work in our country actually is causing some of the problems I think you're talking about, which is it stops families from being able to live together, to support one another. You've got grandma who can live with you and help the kiddos with homework after school if mom is having to work. there's so much that goes into how we do policy and how it just serves to kind of, like if you had a kid or I had a kid who struggled at 20 to get to launch, they could move in with us. A lot of people around the country have these early 20s kids that are living with them for a period to get on their feet. The economy's rough. If you live in poverty, you can't do that, because if you put that person in your home, it's going to change your entire benefit structure. And 46% of people in the West End live in poverty. So it has this weird effect of stopping families from being able to provide support and help
and just getting that
My mom is like, I've worked my whole life, and my mom is such a huge, we don't live together, but we did live with her when we moved back from Canada. We lived with my parents until we found a house. So, and we were like 27. So, I couldn't really be successful without the influence of having a mother in town who will help me raise my children.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I needed my mom's help after I had Scotty, for sure. I mean, she was and my father had passed away in 89, and I'd have his help too, I'm sure. But yeah, she was my support system for a long time. She worked. She was a nurse at the Geneseo Hospital, but I couldn't do it on my own. That was hard. It's hard.
It's so hard. And so I hear you both having a heart for people who you maybe recognize through working in the school district were struggling to show up for their children in the way that is probably necessary for like them to be really high achievers in school, or to you both having a heart for that, and also recognizing that it's an issue in the school district as kids maybe aren't coming to school with some basic skills that they need to be successful in the classroom. And maybe when they're going home, they're not getting the reinforcement of the academic stuff.
Yeah, because, it's exhausting. Mom and Dad and everybody's tired, and I don't care what people say. Kids, you need to sit down with them and help, guide them in their homework, at a certain point, through elementary school, and just help them practice or read a book at night. And I can tell that's really hard for families nowadays. It's really hard. And I don't know what the real answer is.
Even adults aren't reading. I mean, just people who enjoy reading for leisure, those numbers are dropping. So I think we're all looking at our phones, and kids are looking at phones, but it's this really multi-layered, difficult problem to confront in education. And you were there for 20 years trying to tell the story of a lot of the good stuff going on at Rock Island High School, that it wasn't all challenge. There was a lot of good stuff. And also that there are so many dedicated educators in our school system who are just dedicated to these kids and, working very hard every day to help them beat the odds and get ahead. And I'm always blown away by Rock Island teachers. And,
they're the best.
Yes.
They are the best. Yeah, and our buildings and that's the heart and soul of our district. When you look at it, our teachers, our buildings, and all of the principals, they work well beyond their hours to make sure that their buildings are welcoming, and and they have to make staff happy, they have to make students happy, and parents happy. And I worry about like the future of principals, because I think it's a job that can really burn you out very quickly.
So our principal is Andy Campbell, and he is amazing. Amazing.
Well, the nice thing is he's been such a long-time teacher, and he was a coach, and and just all of those things rolled into one. And and I had known he'd wanted, for him it had to be the right time in his life where he could look at being a building principal, and I'm so happy that it worked out.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we just lucked out. I've still got 2 kids at Eugene Field. I'm glad they get to be in the Campbell era. But just what a great principal and leader. And so there's so much great stuff going on in the district.
Yep, there is.
And that was a 20-year chapter of a lot of your time.
Yeah, 17 years. Yeah, I logged in 17 years, and it was a lot. It turned into being a 24/7 job. for the most part. And I felt like, and long story short, I just, I was ready to, especially after getting through the pandemic, which was exhausting. And then our board decided that, we could do some administrator incentives to get those longtime administrators to retire so that we could, it's always good to have turnover. It's always good to have fresh, new inspiration. And I wholeheartely believe in that. And so I just decided that I could retire, and it was the right time for me because I still wanted to do stuff, but I was just really just tired and wanted somebody else to take the reins.
Yeah, I'm so involved in city stuff. That's what I pay attention to.
Yeah.
That's what I watch those board meeting or council meetings. At first I was like, I'll also watch the school board meetings and do my little, and I was like, I can't. Those meetings are way more complicated and intense than the city council.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and
it's a lot.
What is it like to be in a big machine like that, to be telling a story? But I'm sure there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of hurt or disappointment, and then joy over things. And like, did you ever just cry because of the overwhelming nature of it? Or
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There was times, and it was just revolved around those hardships that and incidences that you really don't get over, and I'm just thinking of, we've had students pass away. When my first couple of years into the job, there was a big group outing. School, one of the schools had a outing at Whitewater Junction, and a little girl had drowned, and it was just heartbreaking. And I don't know how you ever get over that. I still just get chills thinking about that. And those are the kinds of things. And the Travis Hearn, when he got injured. And I remember, my mom's a nurse, and so she was aware of his injury and so forth. And he was an amazing kid because he still wanted to do his schoolwork. He still wanted to get that degree. He wanted that diploma. And I just remember my mom saying, those type of injuries, people don't usually survive those for very long. And I was just like, never in my mind would I ever thought that he wouldn't have had a productive life, as debilitating as his injury was, I mean, our coach, Vic Boblet, poured his heart and soul into helping him be successful after that, and the community as well. Yeah. And that part is really heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
That, I don't want those things to happen here, but they do.
Yeah. And that school districts and individual schools become families. You have your school family, and when a member of the family is injured or hurt or dies, it's devastating. A little boy Nora did a year at the program at Earl Hansen. They have like the gifted learner program at Earl Hansen, and a little boy in her grade, not her class, passed away from drowning in Sunset Marina area a couple years ago from Earl Hansen. And it's devastating. And,
it changes a school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you're in that role within a school for 20 years, there's kiddos that come in and out of your life that you really care for and love. And
and then you see him graduate, and you're like, oh, wow, that went fast. Yeah, I think this is the first year I went to the graduation at the Vibrant Center this last spring, and there were still a few names I recognized, and my heart was kind of sinking. I was like, oh, it's getting less and less now. I'm not recognizing a lot of those names of kids that go through like I used to. Because I would cry every time a class graduated because I would get to know those seniors so well because I would do a little capstone video every year. I'd take a handful of seniors and ask them, what are you going to do after graduation? And what was the best thing about your education here in the Rock Island Milan School District? And, I loved doing those videos because it was just, that's the point right there.
Yeah. My friend Jess, who might interview me for the podcast, because maybe I'd be a guest, like a couple people have said like, oh, it'd be cool to hear your Rock Island story, but she thinks we should do a road trip and go visit some of the Rock Island alumni. Like, I think the president of Harvard is a Rock Island alum. Like, there's some really cool, interesting, Greg Moore, who started Roots Pizza in Chicago and runs all those really neat Chicago restaurants. Like, we have some very interesting alumni, and she thinks we should take it on the road and go
absolutely
highlight some of the cool people that have.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had before I left the school district, my assistant Jenna was working on that alumni list. Because she was a journalism, and she has her master's in journalism and communications, and she's a really true storyteller. She loves stories, and so she wanted to have a list of alumni that she could do stories about to see these are what our graduates are doing now, 5 years out, 10 years out, 40 years out, that's worthwhile storytelling.
I'd be really curious too. Like, I feel like sometimes we hear about athletes, so we know what the big, like Courtney Lindsay, there's so many great athletes from the Rock Island community, but
Bree Bill,
there's so many really cool just people doing interesting things. And so maybe that's another
we had an
project.
astronaut, Gary Payton,
Ooh.
who went, and I think he might have passed away, I'm not sure. But we had him come back to Francis Willard because that was his elementary school at the time. And this was probably back in 2013 or 12 or something like that. But
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, so maybe that's so you have this long history with the Rock Island schools.
Yep.
If you think about the future of Rock Island schools, or like what you're really hoping happens for them, or what would feel like a continuation of what was important to you while you were there, do you have any words of wisdom or major points like the school should or needs to keep in mind, or what feels really critical to you from your experience and vantage point for us to be a successful district?
I would say, especially now because honestly, we have a new administration, a lot of new faces in the district. And I would say, let's not forget who we are. Don't forget to look at the history of where we've been, because I worry that gets lost a lot.
Can you say a little bit more about it? Like, do you mean like that the football stadium was built during the Great Depression, or, which I might be botching that fact, but when you say the history of us, what do you mean?
I think I know, we've come a long way, and let's not forget that we had the most National Merit Scholars in the Quad Cities.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. Let's continue that tradition, and I don't know how to put the pieces in place to do that, but just make sure you take a look at the historical perspective of things, before all is lost. I feel like we've lost a lot of that, and I'm trying to think of an example, because I think I think things are moving forward in a good way, but I just don't want people to forget where we've been, if that makes sense.
I think my kids have James is playing football, so he's the fourth generation of like my family,
Amelia's,
Yeah, if I put my husband in there, and then, my dad played football, my grandpa on my mom's side.
Yep.
So I think, what does the back of their shirt say? It kind of gives a nod to trying to hold on to like the tradition of a program or understanding the history of a program. And maybe that in understanding the history of a program like the Rock Island football program, for example, is a nod back to some sort of excellence or greatness that is living in the history around achievement or performance. And yeah, is that kind of what you're talking about? Like those threads of...
Yeah, I might have to flesh that out a little bit, but yeah, I just don't want to lose that, everything we've done. Because we worked hard. I mean, when I first started, we jumped into a bond referendum so that we could, because we were dealing with low enrollment, we had to restructure some schools. We had to add on to some of the schools to make them more useful, in terms of, all of our cafeterias were in the gymnasiums. There was that point in time where we're like, well, schools just need a separate cafeteria, like Eugene Field. The lunch was served in the gymnasium there.
It was fun to roll those long tables out from underneath the
I'm sure
seating.
They're still there, right? Yeah. But same thing at the academy. My son went to Earl Hansen. I mean, so that was my first experience of really diving into, what the schools needed, how the school district was going to pay for it, because, Rock Island being Rock Island, we're just landlocked. We're restricted. We don't have that retail income that other municipalities have in the area for our school district to survive. We survive on property taxes. It's not a good way to live. And I get tired of people saying...
And I wonder if it almost sets up like a dynamic between property tax payers and the school district that can feel yucky. If that's your only source of funding your school, and then your school is struggling a little bit, it's like...
Yeah, it's a big burden. And I used to get tired of people saying, well, you got to run the school district like a business. And I'm like, you can't. No. If your business had to survive on property taxes, in Rock Island School District, every time you get your tax bill, we take a big chunk.
I think it's like half, right?
Yeah. And I don't know what the tax rate is now, $5 and something. But that's a lot for property taxes and property owners to bear in the city. And where are we going to, fill those gaps? Yeah, we need more retail. Yeah, we need a lot of other elements.
And we also do a lot of TIF districts. And I don't know,
and
I write little articles about TIF districts.
School district doesn't get any of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually you do after like 23 years.
Yeah, if it doesn't get renewed.
But for example, the Milan Bottoms, that area will be in a TIF. So all of the property tax increases for the new building and there's the trade-off of like, well, if it doesn't happen, then we miss out on some general revenue through sales tax, and it wouldn't be happening anyway, so the school wouldn't have the increased revenue. But because we have our city broken up into these little TIFs where property tax might be increasing, it's held from the schools for a period of 23 years. And
that's just money.
And there's arguments that if that redeveloped building has a bunch of retail in it at the end of the day, that is all helpful for the general tax base, but because schools specifically are funded off of property tax, the schools really miss out. They probably pay the biggest price for TIFs of any other entity, and then you rely heavier on homeowners for that property tax.
Yep. And as a homeowner, I will say that our taxes have tripled since we moved in 2003.
And
Maybe
haven't
more.
They tried really hard not to raise them in the last 8 years or something? Like,
well, I mean, the tax rate really isn't the problem. It's the assessments. Our assessment has gone up so much, so therefore we're paying more.
Yeah, which is interesting too, because mine just went up too. But the median income, the median cost of a house in Rock Island is so much less than anywhere else in the Quad Cities.
Agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So the housing market, you're like, how does this work? I'm trying to get a really good realtor on the show to talk to me about just housing markets, but also like commercial real estate, you know, so we'll see if I have someone in mind.
Okay.
But David Gellerman, he grew up in Rock Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
and he's helped the school district out quite a bit when we were selling Audubon So yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So you have this chapter of school, and now you're kind of like doing all these other things. You've got what's going on
Flailing,
with the YWCA. You've got the film office. You've got the Friends of Longview.
Yep. Volunteer at Hauberg as well.
Yes, you volunteer at Hauberg.
Yep.
I mean, you're just part of creating, I would say, like the vibe of Rock Island. You know, there's the school district piece was like a big job that you did, but outside of that, which also added to the vibe, but a lot of these things you've done have helped to kind of just elevate the enjoyment or experience of being a Rock Islander. So, like my kid just took pictures at Hauberg for homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool, and you can see all the stuff they've cleared out in the back. Is that going to be like a garden walking path
they're
thing?
recreating the tiered gardens. Like so there's this guy, Jens Jensen, I never say his name right, who designed, Suzanne Dankman had him design the grounds, you know, and we're trying at Hauberg, the executive director and the board want to get it back to kind of how it was. Right now they're rebuilding the rose garden on the west side of the house, but the tiered gardens is a huge project, and it's going to be amazing when it all gets done. I had no idea, you know, Suzanne had this vision all by herself, and she's a great story.
Suzanne who?
Dankman.
Oh, Suzanne Dankman.
Yeah,
okay.
She's such a great, she was a woman. Yeah, her family had money, but she's like, I'm going to build this house, and I'm, you know, I'm going to keep myself here in Rock Island, and she was part of the force that started the YWCA. I mean, she was a very social, philanthropic person. She wanted to take care of women and children with the West End settlement, and got that going, and then helped to form the YWCA, you know, as a women's based organization that helped women and children. And then she built this house, and she had all kinds of plans for it. And then she met her husband, John, you know. But I'm just like, here's a woman who back in that time period was probably, people were like, oh, what is she doing?
So cool.
Yeah, very strong-minded. But she set up foundations for a lot of great things. And to me, that's just an amazing thing about Rock Island is we have that historical perspective of her and what she's built and what we're trying to continue with the YWCA, and then revive Hauberg at the same time.
Yeah, the gardens, you can look out, you can see where they're I didn't even know there was all that land back there.
Oh yeah, it goes a long way over there. Long way back.
But to be able to be engaged in your city, you know, to be able to go to Hauberg and walk through the gardens, and maybe there's some sort of history on Susan Dankman, and to feel like the values of this place are reflected in her story. You know,
absolutely.
Not just chasing stuff for yourself so that you can die with a really big bank account, but actually kind of loving your community, wanting to do cool things, not necessarily always profitable things. I need to read about her. This sounds, you know.
I have another good person for you that would be fantastic for your podcast. His name is Dr. Todd Linscott.
Okay.
And he's the president of the Hauberg board, but he's very boots on the ground, hands-on guy, and spends a lot, you know, he teaches at Blackhawk College, but he's got it all in his head.
Okay.
Deb Kunze too. Both of those. Yeah.
But and then you think about Hauberg and Susan Dankman. You think about Blackhawk Park and the history of Indigenous people and cultures here.
And that was important to John. I mean, Hauberg. I mean, he offered his lawyer services to Native Americans to help them. You know, they were just being so persecuted. I mean, he wanted to do that, and that is really endearing to me.
Yeah.
To know that he put a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, the spirit of Rock Island. That when I came up with the name, I didn't come up with it. Rock Island Line, you know, there were so many reasons why. Rolled Tweet had the Rock Island lines. I thought that was interesting. But the old train that used to run, you know, to Rock Island, the Rock Island line, just the train station.
Yep.
The fact that the song Rock Island Line was a spiritual. It was sung in the South. People who were, I think, in like indentured servitude or in prison, basically like when slavery was abolished, a lot of people were arrested for minor, the black codes, which were like violations of minor laws, but that was a way to be kind of put to work. And I think Rock Island Line, the song, might have been created in that kind of.
Yeah, I don't know the history.
Yeah, Leadbelly was the first person to record it. Okay. And just the migration north to Rock Island, you know, just our deep history around civil rights. And Rock Island is like a really cool, we were the first railroad bridge across the Mississippi, and Abraham Lincoln was involved in that lawsuit. Like, there's so much history to Rock Island. And, you know, a lot of the people you're talking about, which I don't know enough about, but so let me get back to my...
Yeah, it's here. Yeah.
So the line, though, Rock Island Line, to me it's this thread that is woven throughout Rock Island that is kind of invisible, you know, and almost like the hand of an ancestor. Like, you feel it, even though maybe you can't see it. And those, to me, Rock Island is those people. I hope I'm one of those people. I think you might be one of those people that want to leave a place better than they found it, but also want to leave all of us who live here more connected, more compassionate, you know, more human, that there's some really beautiful history about that in our history. In addition to like redlining practices and the removal of tribes from this land. And, and it's all
of those things that we didn't learn about in history class, you know, because they were edited out, more or less.
Yeah, and might be again. They might take them out again. I don't know. But we'll keep telling those stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And places like Hauberg can capture little pieces of that history. And then you're also doing this work at Longview Park. What's that about?
Yeah, Friends of Longivew. We sort of revived it a couple of years ago because we kind of saw a few things happening, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but you know, we just wanted to help make the park what it was. I remember that. I mean, I used to take my son Scott into that conservatory in the wintertime when it was all nice and warm and cozy, and we'd, you know, look at the plants and you know, and it's fell into disrepair, so we want to rebuild that. Right now the lagoon is being cleared out. I think they're working on something with the valve so that it can hold water.
Wow.
So we can put water in there and again, and maybe have some of those little fun amenities that that we've seen in pictures before. There was a duck house or a swan house or something in the middle of there. And if we could at least bring back an opportunity for some ice skating, I think that would be a great draw for the park too. Just showing it some love and helping where we can, because, you know, our Parks and Rec, I love all of our parks in Rock Island, and our Parks and Rec do a great job with all the properties, and they do what they can. You know, they've been focusing on areas and doing what they need to do, but, you know, here we can help put some of those pieces into place and make it a better place for everybody.
That's amazing. So amazing. And I love our Parks and Rec department as well. I think they do a beautiful job, but I think your husband going over there with the gallon bucket and a piece to pick up
those little grabbers. Actually, there's a couple other guys that help him. He's recruited, you know, he's recruited a couple other guys too that bring their dogs and pick up trash.
But how fun, like, what a way to combat
bucket brigade, I
loneliness, you know, to build community around something that is needed, and how you could turn that type of an activity into something that's fun and community building, and you meet some people, and there are these beautiful ideas about how to breathe life into spaces around Rock Island. And so it's like the blending of these community elements, like creative people with a vision, you know, people who are really good at organizing and bringing the folks together and setting up the meeting and finding people's talents and putting them to work on their piece of it. And then like the people with the money who can hopefully fund some of the projects and endeavors. And
or know where to find the money.
Is there money in our community? I mean, because we have a lot of poverty, but do we have people with money who are willing to
Yeah,
give?
I believe so. Yeah. People in the community and people who were here but live elsewhere. I mean, I know there are a lot of, I don't know if you call them expatriates, but they still have a love for Rock Island and still want to see it thrive and grow. And there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
I know there is.
Well, if I can help you raise any money for any of your things by doing anything, let me know. Because I think
I'll take you up on that.
I think that is part of the
and what you're doing with this podcast fits the bill.
Yeah.
And I'm so in. And we were talking earlier about podcasting because I want to do one for the film office. But, that's the way to reach people. And there's no limits. Somebody in California is probably listening to your podcast.
Well,
I'm sure of it.
That's a stretch, but...
Yeah. No, I don't think so at all. I mean, that's it.
Well, I have been surprised. Like, I thought it would be my mom and my husband and maybe like a couple high school friends.
Yeah.
And my parents, there's a big reunion for Augie this weekend, so... They have an old German foreign exchange student who went to Rocky and has lived in Germany. And I might even interview him because he's back for their, I forget what year it is, 60th, I think, high school reunion.
Okay.
And so he lives in Germany, but he considers Rock Island to be his second home.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
had such a beautiful experience here 60 years ago. So he listens sometimes.
Yeah.
And my some other classmate who lives in St. Louis listens, and I'm like, why does she listen to it? Because she loves Rock Island. So I think you are right. A lot of people who are forged in Rock Island have deep connections and feelings of love and appreciation for the special way this place can shape you.
Yep.
And
it's unforgettable.
Yeah.
You can't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a part of you.
And building... I mean, when you're promoting an art gallery, when you're telling a story for the school board or the schools, telling the story of Longview Park, of Hauberg, that's probably, and now being part of a film office, it's all this communicating to people about the specialness of a place.
Yeah, and that's it. It's about the place and placemaking and, all the wonderful locations we have. And why wouldn't anybody want to come here and take part of it? Whether you're visiting or whether you want to move here, why wouldn't you want to be a part of it? I don't know.
I've played around with the idea of, through the Rock Island line, like kind of doing like a jokey like recruitment thing for our neighbors in other cities or across the river. And I think that's why I'm butting heads with the city council, because some of the things they're doing right now, I'm kind of like, but that's not the Rock Island. That's not my Rock Island. And I'm just one person, but I think Rock Island has an opportunity to recruit people who are kind of tired of kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses, that might want a more affordable way to live, that housing costs are less, maybe taxes are a little higher for now, but if we grew our population base, it wouldn't have to be that way. The more people who move here, the less you'd have to collect in some ways. And
yeah. Well, and just look at our amenities. I mean, that's what makes Rock Island such a great place.
Yeah.
And I was at the downtown Rock Island event last night, and it was just so much fun to see.
I got there late, but I saw pictures of the hot action.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, okay, here we are. This is it. Now we can go, fire all the cylinders up and let's make this the next evolution of downtown Rock Island.
And I think it is the art, and I think it is all those things. But for my little piece of it, I think it is the what sort of a community do I want to live in where it's compassionate and connected, and the purpose of life is not just it's to be stable and secure and have enough, but then to kind of get reintegrated into your community and share and do good and take care of people. And I don't know, that's my vision. Other people are probably like, that doesn't sound great, but that's the story I'm telling.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's your prerogative.
If you're frustrated, you live in Iowa and there are some policies going on and there are things that you can't stomach with the with some of that. There's a place for you here, and you can live your values in this city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are this tiny little blue area, making space for all voices, for all political parties, for all of that. Like hopefully I'm going to have a friend on, we don't agree, but like we grew up together, and I want to hear his voice, and but kind of making Rock Island a place where we could just do things a little differently.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, I like talking to people that I don't get along with. It's frustrating, sure, but I'm not there to change their minds, and they're not here to change my minds. But you got to keep that dialogue going.
Yeah,
you just got to keep it going, because you got to keep moving that energy. You can't get stuck on it. You have to keep moving that energy in a direction that will be good for all.
Yeah, exactly. And Rock Island is cool because it's like a place for all people. You can find people all the way across the political spectrum, all the way across the economic spectrum. We're just not very cookie cutter, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's leaning into that, and but we will preserve access to services. We'll preserve free speech. We'll preserve, a sense that we are really a democracy, and we mix it up and we work through things, and
we do.
So I know I'm keeping you a long time, but will you touch a little bit on the film office and the why?
Sure. Yeah. YWCA is gangbusters now. The building's done. We've tripled our membership, expanded our empowerment services, which is the things we do for women and their families, from diapers to food to finding. I mean, we do get people who are looking for an apartment or fallen on some type of hardship and need some, their car broke down. They need $200 to get their car fixed. Okay. I mean, we do those types of social services as well. And we have a family aquatic center. Our after-school program, The Place to Be,
It's the place to be.
It's the place to be. We have at least 30. There's 30 kids there or so a night. We have about 50 enrolled, but they come and go. They're not required to be there every night, but they can come in when they need to. But they've really created their own sort of culture, and it's just a wonderful thing to see.
So the YWCA is located on
17th Street and 5th Avenue.
17th Street and 5th Avenue. It's a beautiful new building.
Yep.
I know of it because one of my friends sends her kiddos there for childcare, and has raved about how wonderful the childcare program is. And then my mom does the water aerobics and has such a good time. She says it's the best pool. It has the best temperature.
Yep.
So what a beautiful addition to downtown.
Yeah, it's been great, but we're not stopping there. We just want to keep continuing to serve the people we serve and expand on our programs as much as we can.
Do you work there, or are you just doing all this volunteer?
No, I mean I'm kind of like a part-timer.
Okay.
And the CEO, Julie Larson, I just help her on special projects. I think she calls me a community engagement something,
And are you their podcast host?
No, our marketing officer, Jenna Panicucci, she's the one who puts all the podcasts together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
And then the film office.
The film office,
which is separate from Fresh Films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's its own entity. The city of Rock Island got grant money from the state of Illinois to, get the foundation going to put pieces together in place so that we could, because we've had a lot of feature films done here in the Quad Cities, believe it or not. And we know this is a creative community. We know there are people here that can support employment. If a big production comes into town, we just need to put all those pieces together so that we could start recruiting bigger productions here to the Quad Cities, because it's, like you said earlier, it's an affordable place to do business. We've got a lot of great locations. We've got the Mississippi River. We've got a lot of...
We have abandoned factories,
we have warehouses. We have beautiful historic homes. We have scary historic homes, just depending on what you're looking for. But we feel like there's really an opportunity here to build that creative culture.
Cool.
Because we are a place of creativity. And then there's also a lot of filmmakers here, like John Kinzer and David Schwartz, who are putting together the Don Wooten documentary. I mean, there's people here that want to produce, and so I'm trying to help them. The state of Illinois has some amazing tax credit incentives for people who want to film here. So I want to help them, at whatever stage they're at, get done so that we could get them out into the filmmaking community.
So the city of Rock Island got money from the state to create
Illinois.
Basically a film office to kind of be the organizing point for highlighting projects, bringing projects in, promoting the film industry in Rock Island or on the Illinois side.
Yep.
And
putting together a business directory and coordinating resources, whether they need equipment, theatrical makeup artists, or takeout.
That's so cool.
Yeah. We want, because that's the other benefit of having a productionist town is they spend money here.
Well, and we have, Circa 21.
Yep.
We have the Center for the Living Arts, which I've talked about a ton on the podcast because I love it.
Yep.
Augustana College, I'm sure they're...
Yep, the film program there is our own built-in career center for students who want to go into filmmaking.
And then this Fresh Films, which I need to learn more about. I'm hoping to interview someone from Fresh Films because it has a little location downtown, but I hear that they are kind of working with the city. There's been some land that has been...
Yep, soundstage. They're going to build a soundstage, which is crucial because we don't really have one here in the Quad Cities. So that, filmmakers, if they're filming on location or if they need a space to do some other work, whether, they need to build a room to do, some filming in, they need a space that they could work in that is built to handle film production.
So like if you watch in a movie somebody driving down the road, they're really in front of a green screen and you've got the car there and the car's on a thing to make it bounce and they'd have a space and some of the equipment and the know-how to shoot something like that. Or a little Netflix thing could come into town for 3 or 4 months and all the people working on it would need a place to live and food to eat and fun things to do. They'd wrap up and they'd move out and something else would come in to use that.
Exactly.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And we have like Aubrey, whose last name I'm...
Oh, Barnes.
Aubrey Barnes, who does
amazing kid.
Storytelling
young man.
and poetry, and then Curtis Lewis, who's with Aubrey, did the play. I think they have, or maybe it's just Curtis has the Journey Live productions.
I think so.
But there's just a lot of like local talent that's already here, and it would be cool if people are coming from Los Angeles or Chicago or less affordable places. Also, what a great opportunity for local talented people to get connected to industry folks.
Yeah, that could take them wherever they wanted to go. Yeah, Obbs is amazing. And I knew him when he was in high school. He was a cross-country runner, and he's just an amazing young man.
He wrote this poem. I don't know if he just wrote it or if I just discovered it, but it was Rock Island Sounds Like. And so it started with, Rock Island sounds like the train. And that's the intro to the podcast because my sister and I, it's like the sound of the train at night, is so Rock Island. It's like...
It puts you to sleep. It comforts you. It's far away, but, it's not that far. And it's just, you're right. That is a sound that is very comforting to me. And if have the windows open at night and I'm just like, oh, yeah. Trains coming
in
through.
The distance, it's the shoo, shoo. It's I'm sure if you live right next to the train, it's not as lovely, but yeah. So you just are doing a lot, and you said that you are running a marathon on
Sunday. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So do you think that's just like, were you just born with a lot of energy?
No, because I'm tired all the time. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I keep telling myself, you got to focus more, but I just don't. I just like to do what I do and share it with the people around me.
There was I think it's a thing that Elizabeth Gilbert did, who is a writer. She has a new book out actually, but I think it's called like The Journey of the Hummingbird. And she kind of talks about her whole life. She just wanted to do one thing, but it was also fed back to her that you should just like find your one thing and you do it forever. And that's what you're supposed to do. And then she had a partner who was a hummingbird and did all these different things. And she talked about the beauty of pollination. You know, that when you're a hummingbird in a community, you take a little bit from this flower and you put it over here with this flower. And that the people who are really traveling within a city and sharing ideas and getting together, and you know, it's hard to quantify or qualify what you do, but you're kind of carrying these little messages and connections and really creating beautiful things. I mean, you've also done a lot, but you know, having just these little bits of involvement and all sorts of little things.
That's a great description. I wonder if that's my spirit animal. There's a woman who does spirit animals here in the Quad Cities, and people keep saying, you got to go get your spirit animal.
I am an owl.
Are you? Okay. I have a friend who's a California condor, and one guy's a gorilla. But it's a perfect description for him because he's just big, take charge kind of doer guy, you know. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine's a hippo.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's my daughter's favorite animal. Yeah. But Kathleen Collins in
Bettendorf.
That's
the woman.
Dragonfly. She's great.
I'm going to get that done.
I went and found out that I'm an owl, and then I actually went to like one of her shamanism retreats at Black
I've been to
Hawk,
that. Yep.
But it was so funny because the first time I saw her, unbeknownst to me, she had fallen in her garage and injured herself. But I didn't know this. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I know I'm going in to get my spirit animal, and she was in so much pain that she was like crawling around, but she didn't tell me until the whole thing was over that she'd fallen in the garage. So I thought that was part of it. Like she crawled down to the basement and crawled into her chair, and I was like, this is so interesting. I thought it was part of the like experience, but she was like, no, I'm so sorry, I'm crawling all over the place, I hurt my back. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like but it actually made it all more interesting. I was just like, you know, this is what an experience. But I loved it. I was like, it was really fun. And the owl made sense. You know, even for this podcasting stuff, it's like you're kind of heard but not seen. And really it's a lot about like seeing through darkness and seeing clearly stuff that's going on and carrying messages, and a lot around like helping with difficult material or like rebirth and death and hard
wisdom
stuff.
And intelligence.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
The other thing is that owls, their partners mate with them by bringing them food. And that is spot on for me and my husband, because I do none of the cooking and he feeds us. Like he's so good with food and cooking and feeding our family. And so I'm like, oh, if nothing else, like that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
But so what keeps you here?
I like to travel, but I couldn't think of living anywhere else.
Yeah, Rock Island's home.
It's home.
Do you think it'll be, like, what do you look forward to over the next 10 years being able to do in Rock Island as you're not, well, you stay really busy, but you retired, you know, you let's call it quote unquote retired. What is appealing about the city for someone who's newly retired, still wants to stay engaged with a lot of different things that they find interesting? Like, is this a good place geographically to be for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can get involved from anything from the arts to, social services to, parks. I mean, there's a lot to be involved with. And it's just I love Rock Island because it's just such a walkable, I run all over the place. So it's a runnable city as well. You get your good hill workouts but it's just such a livable community.
Do you run alone?
Yeah. I run with a group on Sundays, but I run alone by myself all the time.
Have you ever had a problem?
Nope. I've had problems like tripping on things, but that's my own fault.
Yeah, but you run all over Rock Island. You're just a tiny little lady and, haven't had any
No,
yeah.
never.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. I mean, well, I you know, and I've seen some things, you know, but but yeah, I've never felt for one moment that I've ever been in danger, you know. Not ever. And I don't think that I ever will either. I mean, I just know my town so much. And I feel like I know all of those places. And I feel like I have friends in all those places too, because as I run along, I'll see somebody and I might not know their name, but we've run across, you know, we're familiar to each other.
Yeah.
And so we're all friendly.
Yeah, a little bit of a neighborhood watch. And that's the nice thing about Rock Island. We're, I think, 17 square miles. So we are almost in a little nest because we have all the water and then we've got the arsenal. We're just a little insulated city family.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I like about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to try to keep track of you and what you're doing because you're doing so many things that are really making our community a better, more vibrant, deeper, richer place to be. And I just really, really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that because, you know, I have a hard time getting out and or not getting out. I don't get out of Rock Island much, really, honestly.
Well, you have like 7 jobs.
Looking at the other perspective, like looking from the outside in. You know, I don't do that. I just get up and see what's on my schedule for the day and then hit it.
I mean, we're all the beneficiaries of that you're just, you know, a doer. You're putting one foot in front of the other for yourself, but also for your community. Just here's a thing that needs to get done and I'm going to do it and I'm going to show up and I'm going to be helpful and you know,
I guess that's it.
That's how that hard work of community building and changing happens is dedicated people showing up day after day.
Yep. And there's, you know, hundreds more like me here in Rock Island. I guarantee it. We're all just, you know, today I'm going to volunteer at Hauberg at the bar from 4 to 8.
Ooh.
And I can't wait to find out what the drink special is. Deb Kunze, their director, always picks them out. So it's always, you know, it could either be really complicated or it could be really easy.
And then she teaches you how to make it, and then you're like, okay.
She leaves us the recipe, so we put it together ourselves. I'm actually getting pretty good at mix, and now there's a fancy name for it, mixology, but now I know all of my base hard liquors, and I've always been a fan of beer, so I know that. You know, I'm not so good at the wine part.
So you're also a bartender, in addition to all the things we've talked about today.
I make a mean cosmopolitan, I will say. It's my own recipe because I like it a certain way.
That's amazing.
I can tell you that it's pretty darn good.
So if anyone wanted to watch you in action, they'd come on a Friday night?
Yep.
Between 4 and 8, are those the hours?
Yeah, the bar's open at 1. So you can go there right after lunch if you wanted to.
Okay.
But yeah, I get my shift is from 4 to 8 because we have another bartender who does 1 to 4.
Is it starting to get? I hear it's getting pretty busy. Like people are really responding.
Yeah.
Are you going to have to expand your hours or?
No, I think we'll keep it. I mean, that's up to Deb, but I think it's fine the way it is now.
It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it creates that scarcity. You know, it's once a week, Friday.
Do they play live music? Do you guys have?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes she will hire somebody to come in, but other times it's a nice place, and it's just a nice adult bar, no TVs. We have some light music playing, and everybody, you know, you can bring a snack, bring your own snack, and everybody just kind of hangs out and socializes.
Wow.
One-on-one.
I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it. We've got to come. I feel like our kids stop us because they're at those ages where we are just nonstop after school. So I feel like I often miss out on a lot of social things because, you know, I'm driving them around so they can live their best life and do all the things
Been there,
they
done
want
that.
to do.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I don't want to hurry it up, but I'm excited to experience Rock Island as someone without small children because I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth in that area as well.
Yeah, and a place that you don't have to be lonely. You know that, and it's small enough that you don't feel like you have to be part of something huge. It's like little opportunities to just find community and connection.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't have to be huge.
And Rock Islanders are just like easy to be around. There's not a lot of fanciness or putting on airs or feeling like you have to like, you can go to the grocery store looking just an absolute hot mess and it doesn't matter. And you can really show up anywhere as you are.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to, I mean, I'll go to stuff, and maybe that's me, but I'll go to stuff in Bettendorf and you just feel like, do I need to like wear a nicer shirt? I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe I can just, after a 20-mile run, I can sneak in the Hy-Vee and sneak out. Nobody will notice me, but that never happens.
Yeah.
No.
Everyone notices you.
Yep.
And you can show up as you are. You don't really have to like do anything.
No.
So,
yeah.
which is wonderful.
They just look at me and like, oh, she's been running. Okay.
Yeah. No one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing with this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's fun. I'm sure I'm going to end up getting myself in a little bit of trouble because I'm very opinionated.
No.
Are you opinionated?
Yeah, I guess, well, I mean, I have my own views. Do I share them a lot? Probably not. Should I share more? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
I'm just kind of an open book, and I'm always just telling people what I think and feel about things. And then, you'll hear like, well, this person really disagreed with you. And so I'm kind of getting adjusted to that part
well,
of it.
And that's fine. I mean, and I've run into that as well along the way because I've been very critical for the last couple of years about our school board and the direction they're going. And I've talked to people, who are like, oh, what is come on. And I'm like, well, this is how I feel, and this is what this is what I feel should be important and focused on. But but then after a while, I'm always evolving. So how I feel today, 5 years, so I might come to the conclusion of like, oh, what was I worried about? I don't know. And I think that's okay. You change your mind.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I love hearing the opinions of my community members. I love it. Like, I love reading op-eds. So if you ever wanted to write something about the school board or do a little video or not that my way is the right way or your way is the right way, but it's through a collection of voices that we as community members get to be like, oh yeah, I kind of like that piece of what she said and that piece of what he said,
or oh, that makes sense. I'd never looked at it that way before because after 17 years in the school district, I understand how fund accounting works. I understand where money goes, or the policies that you put in place to safeguard that you're using taxpayer money, open and transparent. So,
well, if you get on a roll and you want to write that down, I'll publish it on my on my Rock Island line and send it out into the ether because I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'd love to read something like that because I don't understand enough about the school board because I have my hands full thinking about the city. And so you need all these different people who have a little bit of knowledge and pay closer attention to constantly be giving feedback.
Know those details that other people don't pick up on just because
you can't pay attention to everything all at once.
Yeah, it's complicated.
And the national politics keep us so distracted that it's hard but collectively, if like these 5 people pay a lot of attention to school stuff and they have different opinions and they can speak out on that. And some people pay close attention to the city and some people to the parks. It's like together you become this organism of people being informed and feeling like they can hear different viewpoints and kind of reconnecting to that local storytelling and kind of helping people. We can't know everything about everything.
Right. And if someone wants to prove me wrong, fine. I don't care. And I think I've said that out loud a couple of times. Just prove me wrong, and crickets.
Well, and one cool thing that could evolve out of this podcast is renting a space at like Center for the Living Arts or at a theater and doing some live things where people buy tickets and they'd come in to hear a couple of experts in the community about, and you're an expert. You worked in the district for 20 years. You understand ins and outs. To even hear or be able to watch a live back and forth about topics that we're interested in, to meet them out, to like talk them through and because that's democracy. That's what we're supposed to do as a community. It's not really, oh, it's my way or it's your way. It's like, let's really wrestle through this. Let's trudge towards something more perfect or better by staying engaged with one another and by being, by having the conflict. You know, Midwest nice sometimes gets in the way of, hey, we really need to talk about this.
Yeah, let's call a spade, you know, and our elected officials, they are the ones who are responsible for making sure taxpayer money is being spent honestly. And, you know, I could say not all of our elected officials are on the same page about that, and there are individual agendas, and that bothers me.
Yeah. Well, if you want to come back and get into that, I mean, I'm up for it. Or host a conversation. Or I don't even know what you're talking about because I'm so focused on Century Woods and homelessness.
Yep. But yeah, that's definitely a good place to like look at how we can improve that community dialogue.
Yeah, and I love that role of being like, and I think public officials do have a responsibility to speak publicly about things. That if you're representing a group and you've been elected and you're signing up for this hard job. I mean, I think every school board member, every city council, it seems like, why would anyone sign up for that?
Exactly.
It's like gotta be so hard. And I have respect and compassion, and people in those roles have to be publicly communicating with their community all the time about, here's what we're doing, here's what we're thinking.
What my thought process was about that vote that I just made, you know. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, otherwise there might be block voting or groupthink that is just kind of like, well, we're all going this way. And it's like, well, I need to know why.
Why?
Tell me why.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's a simple request.
Having a system over time where your elected officials, like an expectation of Rock Islanders, is that you're pretty engaged and you talk to your people about what you're doing, why you're doing it. Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
So.
Yep, I like it. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to get to know you, and I'm sure that I will make my way to Hauberg, and I don't drink. Do they have any?
Yeah, we have
options?
a great mocktail list.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I love that
That's important.
Yeah.
I mean, long story short, my father was an alcoholic, and so I'm all about providing those alternatives, you know, and things for people who want to live a sober life.
Yeah.
You know, that's so important.
Yeah.
That is so important.
I like to say I played women's basketball before it was cool. And I got sober before it was cool. So, you know, I was on the cutting edge of both of those things.
Yeah, cutting edge of cool.
Because there was nothing, you know, when it was just O'Doul's.
I know, yeah.
The first time I got sober, I was only 20. Well, I was starting to try by the time I was in my very early 20s. And now it's so fun because you've got, even just like LaCroix was a big deal. Like more things to drink, more ways to feel like because your brain can still signal to you that it's like, oh, we're relaxing now because I have
you have a fun
water
mocktail with, you know, maybe some bitters and an orange, or, you know, we can throw a little flavored syrup in there and, you know, some ginger beer and make a little spicy mocktail or something like that. Yeah.
It's so, and I feel like part of me being all over the place and doing so much and is that fundamental personality I have of like, if I do something, I'm taking it all the way, including drinking.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So this is a much healthier outlet for
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
All or nothing.
Yep.
If I got into marathons or running, I'm sure. Well, I have not figured out a way to get addicted yet to like taking good care of myself. But maybe that's next.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if marathon running is taking good care of myself.
Yeah.
Because I get beat up a lot. But
it might be another example of like an extreme personality, like go for it, you know, whatever you start you're going to finish. I think these ways of being that we have can play out in these different ways. But yeah, I'm sure we have a lot in common.
Yep. So. I think so too. Yep.
So, well, thank you so much, Holly. This was been super fun, and I'm sure we are going to run into each other all the time now.
Yep, we will. And we will cross paths again and work together for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Time flies when hopefully I didn't keep you too long.